Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
All right. Good evening. I don't know what just happened. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this edition. That's what happened. Yep, there we go. Welcome to this edition of the X-Fan Show, the A-Train Arlington Lane. As you can see, I am by myself for just a little bit, but Dirty's not going to be here tonight, but you already know. I kind of came prepared just a little bit, and happy to bring on my special guest host for this show this evening. He is one of the co-hosts of B-Hawk Live and proud to bring back for another week because Dirty's not suspended this week. You know, he's handling some business, so we making sure he does that. So I'm bringing in my man, Big Daddy Ed, again this week. Yes. How we doing tonight, sir? How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Just trying to squeeze out any little bit of news there may happen to be out there. But I mean, we're even resorting to watching kids shows, trying to find out what's going on in the XFL.
Not kids shows that you try to resort to. Before we get started, I want to show you guys a little bit of clip. I'm gonna take you down for just a second, Daddy Ed.
Yep.
1 second. But I want you guys to see what I saw today on social media, and it features a few friends of ours. All right, you want to see it? All right, well, you can take a look here. Here we go.
What's going on, XFL Nation? We're coming to you live from the Orlando Showcase. Are you a super fan? If so, we've got an opportunity for you. Buy some incredible swag that's going to be on sale, incorporate it into a Halloween costume, and post that on your social media with the hashtag XFLSuperFan for a chance to win a $50 gift card and shout-outs from the XFL media. Be loud and proud just like this. Let's go!
You saw that.
Is that not awesome?
That was many of our friends from the X-Fan Legion. I saw Horns Forward in the house. I saw Neon Green Mafia in the house. And I also saw Brahma Babe and Rig Rocker himself.
Big Rig Homeless Rocker.
You know what I mean?
No, well, maybe not. Maybe not. No, let's not jump to conclusions.
No, let's not do that. But for sure, though, it was great to have them, the super fans, out in full force tonight. And or on that night, I should say. And they got a chance to be with Terrell, head coach Terrell Buckley. As of right now, he's still the head coach of the Orlando Guardians. Like I told y'all last week, it's still business as usual. business as usual. And they're not letting anybody know right now, like we kind of been saying these last few days and weeks. Not a lot really going on news wise, on the XFL front.
But you watch that piece and it's probably a 30-second piece, but you just look at it and you think to yourself, why have they not been doing that all along? I mean, why haven't they been reaching out to the super fans of the XFL to help them do spots like that?
Exactly. And I think that would be cool. But also that for that type of thing, that leads to expense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a big expense. And of course, our guy Mike jumped in and he has something, and it's a big one too. So here we go. XFL Shop is adding new threads and is still promoting the combine using their branding during combines regarding the news of the merger. Is there an issue of transparency with fans and players heading into 2024, or is there a legitimate chance the merger won't go through for a certain time at least? They are talking like it's going to happen. It's going to happen in 2024, and poof, it's going to be some kind of some type of season where there's going to be X amount of teams and they're going to play during a certain period of time. That's how they portray this, like with the intentions of the merger. But XFL and USFL are going on like usual. Like players are signing to teams and so forth. And then what's going on, Rick? as we spoke of him just a little while ago. We also there was this also that came in, and I'm gonna have to use my laptop for this one because I'm not using it. I'm actually using my phone as I'm doing the show. Let me see. That little piece came up, and basically what it's stating is USFL and XFL are going to look to sell the franchises in 3 to 4 years. So they want owners to be a part of this league. But if you guys remember, this was brought up in the beginning. Beginning meaning the time that The Rock and Danny bought the league back in 2021. They wanted that type of plan to already kind of start getting in place. Well, we'll probably see you on tomorrow's show. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But you're supposed to be out having fun. Go. Goodbye. But I already know. I'm going to hear from them pretty shortly after this show is over. But here's the thing. When we're looking at with this piece here, Ed, is not only just the 3 to 4 years of selling franchises, but also the potential of broadcast television, being on broadcast TV. Currently, right now, if you remember, if you look at it from a broadcast television standpoint, ABC handles XFL duties, NBC and Fox handle USFL duties, right? And of course, if you go on from a cable option, ESPN, FX handling the cable side for the XFL, and then you have USA, FS1, and FS2 for the USFL. So, but they're looking to be on network television a lot, and it's gonna be tough, especially the time period they're trying to do it.
It's gonna be tough, but would you not agree that that's really the only way that they're ever going to reach any sort of normalcy with this league, to get private ownership involved? I mean, when you get private ownership involved, now you can talk about moving franchises to their home cities and have it mirror more a normal football season. Whereas now with common ownership, I don't know. It just seems like every season they have to reinvent the wheel somehow to keep it going. And
I think that's not it. It didn't really need it to be taken into that effect. Like actually, I believe the plan that they were doing XFL wise. I know a lot of people say, where it was more expensive for them. Okay, but you got to spend money to make money, is what we stated on this show.
Mm.
You had 8 cities they were able to play in their home stadiums, right? They had a hub where they can all go back to. I know the one main thing that was missing from this year was the fact that they weren't able to get out to the community as much as they did in the past, like in 2020. And they had home fields where they could practice, home areas where they could do all of that. And we've stated on this show before that Vince McMahon there was a potential spot that he was not going to continue on after year one of the return in 2020. Even though it was looking mighty nice for them, to continue to do this league. But I'm looking at it from this standpoint where 2023, you kind of had the setup and the expense account didn't seem like it was that bad. Now with this new thing that they're trying to do, bringing in ownership down the line 3 to 4 years, okay, cool. I would love to see that. But I heard on a podcast, I just heard on the shout out to the XFL Insider podcast. So if you can check that out on xflboard.com, they were mentioning that the responsibility now for the owners, that it wouldn't be the league's problem, it would be the owner's problem.
No.
What are you thinking about that one?
Yeah, but that's the way it has to be. I mean, you eventually got to get private ownership involved, because then instead of having one idea that controls the whole XFL, you got 8 to 12 individual ideas that all have a niche for the market they're in. It just seems like you can steer a franchise more to the way the fan base and ownership and whatnot in that area want it to be, versus something coming from 2,000 miles away that everybody has to adhere to. They're really missing out on the fan connection the way they're currently doing things.
And when they brought that up at the beginning of the year, the XFL did. They said this is about him, her, them, and you. That was Danny Garcia's voice on those commercials, stating that this was about the fans. That was the thing about 2020. It was about the fans. They created the Fan Advisory Network because they want to know what would you like to see in the game of football. And they took some of that, did it again for 2023. They came out with a fantastic game product, marketing product, not so much, but the game itself is fantastic. And you got to build from your pluses and your minuses, right? You have to make cuts, and then you also have to continue on with the pluses and make sure that they maintain as they go on year in and year out. Okay. So my thing is, now that you had the gameplay, right? Why you just didn't just say, hey, let's go for another year? Go for another year before you decide let's just continuously merge.
And I think that only done more to solidify fan bases and even grow fan bases, to get in, to get more locked in with your teams before now you're basically possibly reinventing the wheel. You can only reinvent the wheel so many times before, unfortunately, you're going to have some fans jump ship. And that's sad.
Will jumping in saying that Fox has a deal with MLB, correct. ABC has a deal with NBA and NHL, so having NBC as another source for games is a big one. Yes, all across the board, because we got to also remember ABC also has Major League Baseball. They do it from time to time. Of course, the NFL as well, along with Fox and NBC. So you got to think about that too. I know that it won't be football season during that period, but it's what the assets that they have at this particular moment. Also, Mike Tackett says, as long as there's an agreement in place for owners to not run teams down the drain, and definitely no outside purchasing of the league itself for exchange of money, we don't need another Tom Dundon. Here's my thing with the Tom Dundon situation. As much as I wanted to sit there and blast Tom Dundon, Dundon's reasoning wasn't. Dundon did the right thing, because, and I blasted. I hated it. I hated the fact that they got rid of AAF, because I thought it was something good. Why would you get rid of the product? People weren't getting paid. That's because of a person by the name of Reggie Fowler that screwed all of that up in 2019. Having a Tom Dundon do that wasn't bad for business. That was to protect what he was purchasing. And so at this rate, bringing in ownership, like for instance, St. Louis would be huge if they get a chance to talk to David Stewart now over at Worldwide Technology. I know this is something that Dirty's gonna be probably pissed about because I'm mentioning it on this show instead of mentioning it on B-Hog Live, excuse me. But having a guy like David, we talked about this in the past. If they were to bring in ownership, one name came to mind was David Stewart. You know what I mean? And it would be big for the XFL. And you almost have to start, I guess in my mind, like the slow turn, instead of making it feeder, making it its own spring pro. Like it don't have to compete against the NFL. It could be its own league. You can pay 7-figure deals to these guys if you start bringing in owners that are willing to invest in it.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta remember, you gotta get people to invest in this product. So it would be good nature to bring in ownership that's willing to be a part of this. Because I think it's a special league.
And the thing is, you got to get owners, you got to get potential owners out there that see the value of the league like you and I see. You know, they, of course, they're thinking with their pocketbook. So you got to show them a viable product. And at some point in time, if to build on your product, you have to have some level of consistency. And to keep changing it every year, I don't know how they get to 3 to 4 years where they're ready to sell it to private ownership, because you got to get some years under your belt of improving what your product before you turn it loose and expect private ownership to take it over.
Exactly. And you also got to have consistency.
Yeah.
Consistency is key here because you got to have a league where you could say, hey, this is how we did in 2 or 3 years, or this is how we, because now everything is more fast tracked than anything. Everything is starting to get fast tracked now. And I'm like, you only had a year under your belt. Granted, your ratings, if you looked at the ratings from the ABC games on the XFL, most of those games were higher than what the USFL was getting when they were on network TV. Not much, but they were higher than USFL network games, not cable games. I think they were even bigger than that on cable. But my point is, you got to have another year of that. I want to see what the XFL can do in year 2. You know what I mean? It's like we sit here all day and be like, hey, we either fans of the merger, we're not fans of the merger, but I'll be damned if I'm sitting here looking and you talking about merging and you only got 1 year to play with.
You only got 1 year to play with, and you're also up against, let's not bring politics into it, but let's bring politics into it. You got a potential government shutdown that's going to be happening next month, and the legal issues that they need to get through to get this merger complete and have the time that you need to get the season put together. They go into any kind of government shutdown. What's that going to do? So is your plan B? Is your plan B that we go ahead and we have another USFL and another XFL season separate? Do they have that contingency in place? Who knows? I mean, we're not hearing anything. But
that's the biggest questions. The biggest questions come from that. What's next if the merger if it does go through? What are the intents after that? Like, are you going to do it right away, which a lot of people are saying that's where it's headed, or you just go and do another year? We want to see what it looks like. With that being said, case in point, if you remember back in 2019 with the AAF that we mentioned earlier, right? They were going to go up against the XFL had the AAF played another year. Remember, it was all about Charlie trying to beat out Vince because he couldn't buy from Vince. Charlie was being very petty during his time with the AAF. And the weird thing about it with him was, shout out to Dan Kaplan. Dan Kaplan said it best. It wasn't even about football. It was about technology for him. So it was just another toy that, he wanted to sit and play with and say, hey, this could work for me in the future, or something that we can deal with in football games that can be worked out in the future. But my thing is, with that AAF going against the XFL, that would have been something, because they would have been toe-to-toe, neck and neck on different networks at the same time. They were February to May, around the same time as what the XFL was doing. So that would have been very interesting to see how that would have played out had they had another year under their belt. But they didn't have no money to begin with. Oh, boy. Look who popped
Now, hold on. I'm driving. I just have to say this. Arlington, we were going to talk about the Charlie League in the XFL, the AAF, and then here you go talking it with Mr. Daddy Ed with his sipping on his B-Hawk Live beer, But here's what people gotta realize about, and then I'll leave. It would have been taken.
You're right.
I'll bet that was riveting stuff you just said.
The Brahmas. You know what? Shut up. Yeah.
That was.
But you gotta remember, Arlington.
I'm glad you popped into technology-wise. Screw everything up. I like it though. Thanks.
Gotta love Verizon. Gotta love Verizon.
Everything's gone to crap for him.
Right. No, but look, right here. Jackie says it right here. Hello, friends. She's got to remember, if the AAF would have survived, there would have been no Brahmas. The XFL wouldn't be in San Antonio. It wouldn't be there. So what we got to realize is we just got to be happy that there's spring football. And we got to realize that Danny and The Rock really screwed up, and that's why there's the merger. That's all I got to say. How you kick me out of here, Arlington? Because if I do it, I'm going to end the show.
There, I got him out of there, okay? but he has a point. He has a point there with with the Commanders. At San Antonio Commanders, we wouldn't have a San Antonio Brahmas team. It would have been somewhere else. It would have probably been in Miami somewhere. I mean, come on, think about it. He talk about the U all the time, right? Like, come on, are you serious right now? Like, San Antonio would have never been in the picture. But my thing is, with these leagues here, they're two viable football leagues. They did play some good football. Of course, I always will say the XFL did better than the USFL when it came to football, in my opinion. Can I suspend him again? I think he suspended himself tonight. You know what I mean? With the whole technology stuff. I think he suspended himself. But what I was getting at was, damn it, John, you got me.
Hey, listen. Kick John, ban John from the show. He is no longer allowed to watch the show. Nerd. Kick him off the show. Kick his ass out. We no longer want him as a fan. Nerd.
How do you keep popping up? Something else, man. Something else, man. Like, I don't know what's wrong with him. Golly. Denzel, let's throw in this comment for Denzel. Yeah, they have to get owners for all teams at the same time, because if St. Louis has owners and the rest of the owners, and come on, man, we got to learn English here on this panel, and rest of don't. The owners can say, I want to pay my players more. He said, fire him. No, y'all get to deal with him tomorrow night.
There's definitely a lot more in the mix if you get private ownership because there's a lot that goes into that too. And you know, the whole discussion of salary caps, all that kind of stuff. Because if you get a Mark Davis of the XFL, USFL Spring League versus somebody that's trying to be prudent, you know what can happen there too.
Right. So, you know, it can be a whole lot. It can be a whole lot wrong with this. That's why I'm like, right now, mergers don't even really need to be going down for real. I'm so serious about it. Like, I need another year of this. Like, and you know, it's already rough enough, no pun intended, with the Roughnecks themselves. Like the Houston Roughnecks, we talking about from the XFL standpoint. The Houston Roughnecks still trying to find a home. I mean, finding a true home to play in. They're playing in one in Rice Stadium, but it's like they are inconsistent.
And it's not like they were, you know, they're a cellar dweller that drew 2,000 fans and nobody wanted to see them anyway. Houston was always right there towards the top of their division in 2020 and 2023.
They were at the top in both years.
Both years. So, I mean, it's like, so if you look at teams in the XFL that drop, you would think the Roughnecks would be one of the last teams to talk about. It's just crazy.
You know what? Mark Cuban has invested in a league. It wasn't the XFL. It would be nice if he would get into something like this because they're not going to get him in the NBA. I mean, NFL, I'm sorry. They're just not. But he invested in the old UFL back in 2009, if I'm not mistaken. I think he did, yeah. He was a part of that because of his network, HDNet. You know what I mean? So he was a part of that league, and they competed against the NFL. That league competed. It was a spring, a fall league, and they went from September to November. And they played their games on like Thursday and Friday nights. So you know nobody was watching them.
Mark Cuban would be incredible for our league because not only does the guy have endless cash, which is always appreciated, but the guy is just smart. You don't build what he's built without knowing what you're doing. And the more guys you get involved in a league that knows what the hell they're doing, is only a good thing.
Let The Rock and Danny Garcia go on Shark Tank and pitch the XFL.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, Rock can be the one that stands off to the side flexing his muscles the whole time while Garcia actually talks, you know, about the important things.
He would be nice if he wanted to get involved. Mattress Mac. In Houston, as much money as he throws at the Houston Astros, you know, to win it all and stuff, make these humongous bets, and he's allowing Elon Musk, Jesus.
Oh, God. No thanks.
Elon Musk.
You'll be playing football in space before you know.
Oh yeah, it surely will be the X. It would be the X for real, then, wouldn't it? Because that's what he named. That's what he named Twitter. And then he'll say that he was the one that created the XFL. You know, they'll say some weird mess like that. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, Mattress Mac would be a good one. Like if he wanted to get involved, because that's all he does. That's when it comes to the Astros. He's throwing money all the time. And like here in Houston, everybody know Mattress Mac. Like when I got down here, the first thing people told me was, you know who Mattress Mac is? And I'm like, no. I think I remember hearing about him back in 2017, but that was it. And then 2021, when he had made the big bet in the World Series with the Braves, they lost. You know what I'm saying? So that's another person that has a lot of money that I think would be a good investment for the XFL. You know, if they decide to sell off the owners.
Well, you know, at one time in 2020, Kurt Warner was talking about the fact that he wanted to own a franchise, and he even mentioned possibly the Battlehawks. But you know, even Kurt Warner would have pull. I mean, don't think he wouldn't be a popular addition to the league too.
Jeez. See, and that's what I'm saying. There's always potential spots. And you know, celebrities all day throw money at sports franchises. So you mean tell me that none of these people would want to purchase one and want to be a part of it and then be a part of the community and stuff? Like Magic Johnson, Serena Williams, Usher, Nelly, Michael Jordan, you know.
Oh God. Yeah,
But
just
no, my point is celebrities though, they would want to invest in it. Tom Brady. They make
Tom Brady, they were talking about him last weekend, that he's starting to buy ownership in teams in Europe. I mean, he's dabbling in all kind of stuff. So, I mean, you got to think that he would probably be interested in even partial ownership of some franchise.
Hey, no lie, I would not mind having Shaq a part of the XFL, like for real. I wouldn't mind having him there. Yeah, you know, even if he showed up for a couple of games, like he's known in Houston. I don't even think he has a home out here in Houston.
And he gets it. He would be a marketing wizard. I mean, he gets it. I mean, that guy, look at just the Papa John's commercials alone. I mean, the guy knows how to market.
And then he has his own chicken spot now. So you telling me that he don't know what he's doing? You know, we're putting together some amazing, you know, some amazing marketing like streams. Man, come on, like get some of these celebrities that want to be involved. You know, that would be nice. That would be very nice to see. As always, folks, this is the X-Fan Show. I am your host, A-Train. This is my special guest host, Big Daddy Ed. Of course, folks, you can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, on Instagram as well. And then you can also follow us at Pro Football Newsroom. We're also there at pfnewsroom.com. So make sure that you check out our content there. And of course, we're sponsored by Wild Sun Winery and Brewing Company. As you heard from Dirty, Daddy Ed had the B-Hawk live beer on deck. There it is. So make sure that you get
for display purposes only, I might add.
You already know. You already know, man. But as we get to it, also like these back to the super fans, you know, you got a chance to see some of the people from Horns Forward and Neon Green Mafia, also like you mentioned Rig Rocker and Brahma Babe. That's what this league is based around. That's what this show is based.
You look at those guys, and number one, if you tracked them all any length at all over the weekend, you can tell that.
Sorry, Ball Hawk, because he's gonna be mad at me because I didn't mention him at all.
I was waiting for you to say his name.
Ball, yeah, I mean Ball.
Anyway, you could tell that they were totally enjoying the weekend. They were totally engaged. I mean, they had coaches. They had all. I mean, they took them right on the field. The interaction was there, and it's like it couldn't have worked any better. Couldn't have worked any better.
A big shout out to Corey Helvey in Orlando, because he was also there for them. They were doing their tailgating event. Neon Green Mafia was. Shout out to Michael Lathrop over at the Player 54 podcast and Neon Green Mafia. I can't think of the other members that were there because I seen them and I know they were part of the show, but forgive me for not getting y'all names out there. But I know as a Mafia, they showed up too. So cool thing that they were able to do. And then they got love from the league itself. So see, that's what it's about.
And even the coach, the head coach of the Guardians, Terrell Buckley.
They got
I mean, I'm not even gonna say it because if there was that kind of interaction in other cities, the fan bases would be a lot larger than they are. But it seems like some cities get it, some don't, and it looks to me like Orlando embraced the weekend. They let the super fans be a part of the weekend like they should have, and just it's not that hard. I still say it's not that hard.
And my belief is that, again, it's about trust. It's about trust in the league. You know, the games were great, like I said, and I can't stop saying that because they were. You know, we got to see every single game of the XFL. You know, the 4 games per weekend, but hey, we watched all of them because we wanted to support it, and it wasn't bad football at all. You know, we got to see Orlando's first big win. You know, their only win of the season, but it was a good one. You know what I mean? And they competed. And so that was the cool thing about this league, that every team competed. I know everybody want to dog the Vegas Vipers out, but they competed too. You know what I mean?
Well, they were paper champions going into the season, though. They had them pegged to be one of the top teams, and they definitely had the talent. They just
it was bringing everybody together. They couldn't do that.
Yeah,
that was a big problem. That was the huge problem for that team, and you know, it showed. You know, even though there was controversy in Orlando, they were able to find ways to get in the games and stuff and make it competitive. Granted, that last game against the Battlehawks wasn't the case, but in a lot of their games, they were very competitive.
That game exposed that game exposed the tiebreaker system as needing to be revamped, because whenever you have to because the last game turns into a pinball match because they needed the points, right? Well, they could have very easily tagged another 7 on in week 2, another 10 points in week 3. If they would have known at the end that it come down to points, now you turn every game into a pinball machine, trying to score as many points as you can, which maybe isn't a bad thing. But I think it just showed that there needed to be some tweaking. And believe me, no complaints about the way it turned out. I get it. We didn't win the games we were supposed to win. I mean, I shouldn't say we. The Battlehawks didn't win the games they were supposed to win when they needed to win them. So there's no excuses there. But
especially when you had a team that was stronger than you and beat you twice in the Battlehawks. I mean, excuse me, Defenders. They were rough. You know, they had some rough games against them, and it was hard to stop them because that offense was so great. You know, and that's what the cool thing was. And we want that again for year 2. Like, I want majority of these guys back, and I want to see if the Defenders can run it back in the North.
Yeah.
Right? I want to see if the Renegades can run it back in the South with, if not majority of the teams together. You know, only 2 players right now are actually on the 53-man rosters. You know, you got a man with the Steelers, Brad Ring, who's had NFL experience, and you got Dan Whelan over in Green Bay. So, and then many players are on the practice squads around the league. You know, the recent one being A.J. McCarron with the Cincinnati Bengals. But my thing is, with those, I get it. You're on the team, but you're not seeing the field. Like, Whelan and Ring are seeing the field. They're on the field. They're with that group. So with that being said, bring them back. Let's run it back. I want to see what this looks like.
I was going to say that the practice squad doesn't mean anything. I mean, those players that are on the practice squads, they could very easily be available for another XFL season.
And I just got this news today that they just cut wings, so we back to 1 player again. So that's what I'm saying. I get what this merger is, and you know, it's all about money moving to and from. But it's like, hey, y'all run it back one more time. I want to see what could pan out. Can the Renegades run it back? Can the Battlehawks overcome what happened last year, this past season, and potentially be the representative for the North in the championship game? You know, so those are the things that I want to see. You know,
well, But private ownership is going to be the only way that you're going to get an alternative league like this to compete with the NFL. And it's not even really competing because the seasons are at different times. But the only way you're going to get these players to be comfortable coming back to the NSFL or XFL or whatever you want to call it is if it's all about the money. It still comes back to money. You get private ownership, you get these players making a decent living as an alternative to the NFL, then you got yourself something. But as long as you have the gap that you have, you're going to continue to lose the best talent to the NFL because that's where the money is.
You know what? And a lot of times, though, we say it's the best talent because they're in the NFL. But is it really the best talent, or is it because these guys fit their systems, right? Do they fit their team aspect? Because there are a lot of players that make the NFL that don't see the field, and they need it, and they could be forgotten. You know what I mean? And or they feeling comfortable. Like the XFL is a place where we can have our own star.
So what? Yeah, but when you say fit, if you're a player and you think, man, do I want to play XFL or NFL? And then you have an owner whisper in your ear saying, I'll sign you for $10 million a year. Yeah, I think I fit in just nice right here.
Because of the money. All right, I get that.
Yeah.
It's like if you just, but a lot. See, okay, and we're gonna go back. A lot of those players in the XFL, they want to work because they want to make it to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how can you entice them to stay other than, of course, money is going to be the answer to the question. But the thing is, how can you entice and say, hey, we want you to build this league up for, with us. And if it doesn't work out, you always got a home and you could be a star here.
Yeah.
Because I look at it like this. Japanese professional baseball. Yes, I'm using it as an example. There were guys that didn't make it in Major League Baseball that had great careers in Japanese professional baseball. It wasn't MLB, but it was their top, I guess their top baseball league. A lot of people look at them, especially here on this side, they look at them as below MLB. Japanese, they look at it as above. How can we get that with the XFL to, get to that top tier level?
Yeah, I mean,
that's the scary part. That is the true scary part, because when you look at Ed, you saw the USFL back in the 80s, right?
Yep.
You watched it.
Steve Young.
Yeah. When you watched
Doug Flutie.
When you watched that league, what was your mind? What were you thinking? Like, this could be something special. This could be potentially better than the NFL. Or he's like, you know what? It's not going to go anywhere. Like when you first saw it. Not talking about, because we know what the result is now. I'm talking about early on.
Well, what I can remember back then.
We're not giving away your age, man.
No, I mean it's what I remember. It was good football, but I think at that time, you still had the Howard Cosell, and you still had all those guys that just brainwashed you into it was the NFL or bust. You know what I mean? And it was like Monday Night Football. It was, with Howard Cosell, it was NFL was so big when that league come out that the football was good, yeah, but they tried to go head to head though, didn't they?
They wanted to, but they didn't. They wanted to. And they wanted to. And
yeah.
It was they were indicating, it wasn't best to be played in the spring. You know, and so yeah, and I agree with this statement here. They messed up with trying to pitch this as a feeder league instead of upselling it as this is our league. This is our own professional football league. But
If,
pundits and everybody was like, they were never going to get around unless they had some kind of partnership with the NFL. I think that's a bunch of crap. I really do. They could have done this without the NFL's help. The NFL wasn't looking out to reach out for them. And granted, The Rock made some appearances with the NFL and stuff, and you know that could potentially helped it. But
I think that they tried to maybe sell that a little bit when the season first started, that this was going to be a viable farm system for the NFL. But I think, and of course, we bought into it hook, line, and sinker, because then, of course, at the end of the season, everybody they start signing this player and this player. This player gets signed, and then we're going, see, it's going to work. Get to that next level. And then we saw that how much did the NFL just kind of sap some of the, the energy away from the rival league by signing all their players, and then they're going, oh, by the way, you're not quite good enough to cut it. And then you get rid of them all. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
they sign these guys, and they have no time to practice with them, get themselves in shape, or be ready. And like, what was the point? What was the point? That's why I say a league like the XFL can be its own entity, or USFL, or NSFL, or whatever the league name is going to be. They could be its own entity. You don't need that. You don't need the NFL's help. Like, and the weird thing is, if you do call it the NSFL, it just letting me know, in my mind, it's direct with the NFL. It's just putting an S in between it.
Yeah, well, but that's where eventually this league needs to be viable enough that it becomes a viable alternative. Because, I was listening, Jersey had a good interview last week with Jeff Badette with the Vipers, and it was a conversation that dealt a lot with Jeff Badette coming to the realization that maybe the NFL wasn't going to happen. And he went through a lot of issues because of that.
Yep.
Giving up on the NFL and he finally reached the point where he's like, you know what? I can continue to be a star in the XFL, and I'm going to be okay with that. I'm not going to keep chasing the big money, and the older I get, the less likely it's going to happen. So maybe I have to be okay in the XFL, dominating the XFL. Well, the more and more players that you can get to be okay with that, because the private ownership or however structure you have allows for bigger salaries to bridge the gap. It doesn't have to equal the gap. It just has to bridge it enough to where these players aren't hell-bent on it's NFL or nothing. And the more that you can get willing to just say, you know what, I'm more than happy to play in the XFL/USFL and make a good living and shoot. Maybe that's the route. But Jeff Badette, even talked about how he went through counseling to come to the realization that maybe the NFL wasn't going to happen, and that he needed to be okay with the XFL. And the sooner they get that figured out, and that's why I say consistency builds longevity, builds private ownership, and then where does the league go from? But as long as, this time we're going to go with 8 teams, 1 hub. This year we're going 8 teams with 4 hubs. This year we're going 12 teams with 6 hubs. and everybody gets a pretzel maker or something. You know, I mean, it's like,
See, and I get,
you know what I mean?
and I think the biggest draw is this: in professional football, the contracts are mostly non-guaranteed. Is what I've been, I constantly see. There's going to have to be, I don't know when it'll happen, a professional football league that will give guaranteed contracts to these people, and that owners are willing to take that particular leap to do that. I know that's so far fetched. It's like, no, I don't want to do that like ever. But I think the sustainability for these leagues for professional football, if they chose, and then I would want the spring football league to do it, because then the NFL will look at it like, so what are you doing? Trying to do something that you didn't do. Is look out for the players, look out for the coaches, look out for personnel. Especially the players are the main thing, because they're the ones out there we're out there looking at and seeing. We're not out there to see the coaches. We're out there to see the players. And guys that did not get their shot get a guaranteed contract, signing, they're good enough. It's like even if you did like scrimmages or something, and see how well that you guys play, we want you on our team. But then you got to think the mindsets, and it leads to a whole down.
But was guaranteed contracts. It took a long time in the NFL for guaranteed contracts to come up. Was that because of greed of the owners?
Of course.
Or was that because it wasn't viable in a sport as violent as football to have guaranteed contracts?
So then the question then becomes this: what happens when there is a potential strike? They don't want to play. They're going to need somewhere they're going to want to train or whatever. They might want to play somewhere, get themselves ready to go for the season. It's it's a far-fetched idea, because we always talk about how the NFL is this mafia type organization, and how they're able to keep things under wraps and kill off everybody. They don't kill off. But my thing is, there's got to be some way where there's going to be some kind of guarantee that these players that work hard, that want to play, get the chance to be a part of these teams. And even you got to also look at it. There are many players that get cut, even from XFL squads, and they think that they're good enough to make the squad. I don't know, man. More than I talk about it and think about it, I'm like,
that's a hell of a capital commitment to make, especially with a new league, to have guaranteed contracts.
It's a shot. You take leaps. You take shots. You what's the saying? You take 1,000 shots that you don't miss, some weird mess like that. The shots that you don't take them. Take an opportunity. Okay. That was weird. Okay. You take shots at it. And I just, like, a lot of times when people make billionaires that make investments that lose money, they somehow find a way to get that sucker back. You know what I mean? Some that know how to do it. That know how to angle it in their favor.
The ones that survive do, yeah.
DJP says, in my opinion, I feel that the NFL wants these leagues to merge so they can shut it down completely. Players are about to get redistributes, I guess. It's going to make the merge league even better player-wise. Okay, we'll see how that one works out. In the NFL, to my understanding, with the TV deals, the players get half and the owners get the other half, so they all get paid more every year. I guess that goes with the player association. They get a cut of those TV deals. And there weren't any TV deals for real when it came to. Oh, okay. Andy chimed in and said the original USFL had contracts that were partially guaranteed. The NFL does too. if I'm not mistaken, when we looked at Patrick Mahomes' contract of $503 million, majority of it is incentive based. And the guarantee that he got was like $140 million.
Are you talking about his most recent contract or his original?
Yeah, the one that he did, the most recent contract that he just got. And he was labeled as the highest paid player in NFL history, you know, with the $500 million that he was getting for the Chiefs. And it was all back ended. But still, my point is, he still didn't even get all it. He didn't get his guaranteed money. $503 million wasn't all guaranteed. Yeah, it's like he has to continue to work up for that. And I even said to people, I've talked to Fred, I said, man, if he could retire right now because he's done really everything he needed to do, he could retire with $140 million. And then he live off of the endorsements.
I saw the overhead shot of the house he's building. I mean, there's a golf course hole, and he's got about everything in that yard. That's
right, and he's got ownership and other stuff too. So my thing is, they still didn't get. He still wasn't guaranteed that, and that's I know what MLB, Major League Baseball, they give guaranteed contracts, and I think the NBA does too. All their money goes to them. So I say, hey,
no. I understand. I understand the concept.
Even if it's for a year.
Yeah. I mean,
year based.
Yeah, but don't you? If you truly want to see, if guaranteed contracts are going to work, doesn't it need to be at least 2 years? Because you bring somebody in for a year, you almost got to guarantee the next year if you want to see if they'll actually come back again.
Exactly. That would definitely be interesting enough for sure. I think we got through this show tonight. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but hey, we got. Please don't leave. I'm with you. Don't leave, man.
Could XFL, USFL, NSFL, God, I don't know what you want to call it. Could somebody please say something? I mean, could someone please just throw us a bone? I mean, don't make us resort to watching 12-year-olds play Anchorman to let us know that there's an XFL draft coming up next month.
Yes.
I mean,
we didn't even mention that. We didn't even mention that. And the fact that they mentioned on their broadcast that the draft is going to be, or they said it, the XFL draft was the 15th through the 17th.
Yeah, they interviewed Lacoby Tucker, and they talked about his showcase and all that stuff, and then they talked about how he was projected to be a top 5 draft pick in the upcoming XFL draft. And we're like, wait a minute, that can't possibly be. That can't possibly be that we are resorting to watching a kid's Anchorman show to find out I
give up. Hey, well, Daddy Ed, thank you so much, man, for hopping on again this week. I know Dirty's going to obliterate. He's going to obliterate us. As you guys stop.
I never come back on again, so you know.
Hey, if I'm here, you'll be back. If I tell you that. Well, folks, it is time for us to go. Time for us to part. Thank you for those that tuned in.
Stay tuned tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock.
All right. Daddy Ed, thank you so much, sir. always welcome as usual, man. And I'll check you out tomorrow night on Seahawk Live, okay?
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on again.
Let's take that, man. Thanks for signing off. Another edition of Next Show. Hey, Thursday. Be in the morning. Thursday morning, all right? Back at it again. Thank you. I'm not going to do good like that. See y'all next time.